as the market cap of crypto goes up over time from 2 trillion to where I think it's going, which is 100 trillion, you're going to generate more wealth than any other trade in all human history in the shortest period of time, and big uptick in art as we start going through all-time highs, not only in Bitcoin, but in the other big one, which is Solana.
Big moves are coming. Bitcoin is already up 14% since the Fed's rate cut, and altcoins like Solana up over 50%. But the real story? This is just the beginning. Raoul Pal says we're entering a 2-year liquidity flood with massive upside potential across crypto. If you're not paying attention now, you'll miss out on what could be the best crypto strategy yet. Let's break it all down.
And it's an absolute beautiful chart. It's the GMI Global Weekly Liquidity, so that both private sector liquidity and public sector liquidity from the largest global economies. I mean, it's just perfect. It leads by 10 weeks. M2 does pretty much a pretty similar job as well. So you've got that. You've got Bitcoin seasonality is always strong from this point onwards. I'm going to share another chart as well. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. I mean, literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. It's kind of like it has to be now. Even the chart patterns, usually you get 3 touches at the top, 3 touches at the bottom of a range. That usually works. So I think all of the elements are in play. Yeah, and that volatility probably happens close to the top of the trend. Before the breakout, you're kind of waiting around at that 70,000 Bitcoin level, 70 to 75,000, and it chops around frustratingly there. Before, I think either way, whatever the outcome of the election, it goes up afterwards anyway. We've seen that in the past. But we saw the last time Trump was in, obviously, because Trump is very tax light, very stimulative, and he's very pro-crypto, so regulatory stuff, both for tech and for crypto, that you feel like that could be an extra juice if that were to happen. And 2016-17 was the last Trump cycle. We didn't have the Fed actually easing liquidity massively. They were just starting to raise rates, and they stopped for 2016-17. And it was the Chinese who were creating the liquidity, and the market went, bananas-tastic in 2017. What are your thoughts? I mean, I think we've got another whole run to go, but maybe more narrow, less broad. I do think some of the memes will continue because as people come into the market, memes tend to do well. But I think you're right that the whole pump.fun thing has probably died down a lot. And I think you're dead right that culture, NFTs were culture, this is culture. They're all going to morph into something that we yet haven't seen. And that's probably next cycle. This is all kind of experimentation stuff. And I think it's still going to be one of the largest parts of this entire thing. The market cap of crypto goes up over time from 2 trillion to where I think it's going, which is 100 trillion. You're going to generate more wealth than any other trade in all human history in the shortest period of time. And that gets recycled into art. And, I started buying Xcopy really in January and have been buying all year. That triggered a whole bunch of people. And I've shared the thesis a lot with people that, the really culturally relevant things will be highly sought after first. But I think it'll broaden out again. Art doesn't go away. And so we've seen punks, Xcopy, and there's very little Beeple for sale at all. So those are there. Yes, Fidenzas have come down in price, and yes, some of the others have come down in price, but I think we will see a rotation. It's kind of like if you think of Xcopy and Beeple and punks as Bitcoin, you get Bitcoin dominance first, and as the market broadens out, it moves to the other layer 1s, layer 2s, and other stuff. And I think we'll see the same here. I think we will see a big uptick in art as we start going through all-time highs, not only in Bitcoin, but in the other big one, which is Solana, because that's what people have got a lot of. In fact, we surveyed all of our hedge funds in Exponential Age Asset Management in XPAM, and the biggest trade is Solana. What they're doing there is monetizing nostalgia, and you can make tremendous amounts of money by doing that. And people will pay. I haven't bought my tickets yet, but I'm sure I'll massively overpay for them because the scarcity and that cultural moment means a lot to a lot of people, a real lot of people. And this is the same thing. The cultural moments of 2018, 19, 20, 21 really will stick in people's minds forever, people from this space. And so I think it just gets more valuable over time. For some reason, yes, people will experiment on other stuff, but for some reason, ETH seems to be that chain, and it becomes very clunky. I've got, NFTs and Solana, and I can't see them in the same place, and they're not on my OpenSea, and they're not in my wallet. So it's kind of like, it's a bit of a pain. I do think it tends to stay within ETH. Now, the question is I actually also think NFTs and meme coins will merge at some point. We saw that with the kind of Frank D. Gods doing the opposite, but I think somewhere there's a rarity value of the NFT that massively enhances a meme coin community. But somewhere these are coming together. People are thinking them it's A or B. I don't think it is. It's A plus B equals C, which is the moment that Mando was talking about, which is where culture becomes a very big thing.
Raoul Pal has been laying out the perfect storm of factors that could catapult the crypto market into its next massive growth phase. From the Fed's actions to global liquidity cycles, seasonality trends, and even the cultural impact of NFTs, everything is aligning. We've already seen Bitcoin repeat last year's patterns, and with the upcoming US elections and potential pro-crypto policies, the stage is set for even bigger moves. Ethereum's art world dominance, especially with pieces like Xcopy skyrocketing in value, signals that digital culture is more valuable than ever. Stick around because Raoul is diving deep into how all these factors will drive the next wave of wealth creation.
Mutant prices are not that expensive now, because Bored Apes are still not cheap, for the average person. But mutants, that's not wildly expensive. And in Xcopy, it's Max Payne because he keeps burning them. Yeah. So there's less and less all the time. And Max Payne are very cheap. They're kind of interesting. Rec Guy, I think MFers, I think Crypto Dick Butts. There's a few of that period that will always be culturally remembered, right? And so they're always going to have value. And all it needs is whether you guys or MFers, they've got the MFer coin and stuff, whether that is worth anything or not, or that was just a stunt for base. But I just think if you see the opportunity to reinvigorate outside of the rec drinks and back in that NFT community when it's the right time and it feels authentic, I think it'll come alive again. And people won't forget MFers because most people don't sell that stuff in the end. I'm a mercenary when it comes to my own money. And I have for a while been thinking, all three of us have talked about this, is that this might be one of the chosen ones. And the reason being is that the team is world-class. They've built, scalable blockchains suitable for 3 billion people plus. These guys are world-class. They're a little bit technical. So the narrative was missing, but then started to come alive with narrative. But the reality is they've got the latency of the chain down to 600 milliseconds. It's stupid fast. They've now just building this Walrus, which is a data storage layer, which is a separate token, but it's like basically AWS on top of, this whole Move virtual machine idea. Then they've got Pilot Fish coming, which is their version kind of a Fire Dancer, which gives it kind of unlimited TPS. And they've got a very serious biz dev team. Obviously, we've just got Circle, and there'll be, I'm sure, plenty of others, whether it's in gaming or real world assets and other stuff to come. So they're just capturing mind share. Now, don't forget, this is a low free float. And once you capture mind share in a low free float, it outperforms by definition because there's less of it around. You can have the same mind share for ETH. It's not going to go, barely going to move. So I know people hate low free float. You're going to love them in a bull market and hate them again in a bear market because they're just super beta. So I think that's the point to realize. It's also super beta, capturing mind share. They seem to be executing well and people are looking for the next big trade because as Ovi was talking about, people are kind of like, well, is the Solana trade over? What's the next big one? And so it feels like it's got everything right. I don't see what else is going to dominate. I look at the charts of SUI versus the top 20 tokens and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't see anything that looks close to being able to compete with it for the time being. The only things coming are Monad and Berachain. Doesn't mean that Celestia and all this stuff doesn't go up a lot, but it's very difficult to see anything that's going to outperform that chart. I joined the board of Club Divan, which you guys know as well, because I'm just really interested in following that journey. They're launching their token today or tomorrow. It's not really about token price for me and that. It's like, can you actually use this stuff for loyalty, logistic, deep in, and all of the things that are being talked about? But in the markets, no, I'm super concentrated. It's the Solana, SUI, and even my memes are all down to two, which is Doge and smoking chicken fish. So I'm hyper concentrated, and then NFTs is my long-term savings bucket, stuff I want to have for 10 years. And that's it. I'm trying to keep out of trouble. I think it's a really important thing is if you think you've got decently strong narratives, just don't fuck around with it. Because before you know it, you chop yourself up to death by trying to catch something.
Look, this is a rare opportunity. The global easing cycle is just starting and the smart money is already moving. Bitcoin, Solana, and other top cryptos are showing their strength. And if Raoul Pal's right, we've got 2 years of massive potential ahead. Don't wait until it's too late. Remember, the market may fluctuate, but staying true to your convictions and being aware of the long-term potential of your assets can lead to great rewards. Subscribe for more breakdowns like this and stay ahead of the market. Let's ride this wave together.